StitchyTube, settle down and watch StitchyTube number 65. Welcome. It is Sunday, October 2nd, 2022. Where has the year gone? I'm so glad the hot part of the year has gone. It's beautiful here in Mississippi. If you've never had the chance to be here in October, you're missing out. It is my favorite month here. We don't get a ton of color, but the temperatures have evened out, which is wonderful. It's nice to not be in air conditioning all the time. I open the windows up, the cats sit in the window and look outside. It's just a great time of year here. I need to get to the most important news first, which is Margaret Doyle, 1850, is dropping today at 4 o'clock. And I have been working on this project with Nicola from Hands Across the Sea since early this year. I mean, it could have been like February that we started talking about it, but it took a long time to assemble all of the ingredients. What will be available is the chart. You can buy just a chart. You can also buy 3 different thread packs. So there's one that's the 103 silk spools. They come in a little candy box. I'm doing an Averiswa set. Those are silks also. Those are the ones that come on skeins. And then also DMC thread pack with just DMC cotton floss. The fabric is here too. It is Eureka by Fox and Rabbit, and I have it in 32, 36, 40, and 46 count. And those you purchase separately. And we're doing a stitch along. So on my blog, on my website at kittenstitcher.com, I'm shooting for October 20th for a start, but news will appear on the blog on my website regarding like the start date and how things are going to go. I've never done a stitch along before on my website. My site does allow you to post comments and also pictures, which is why I wanted to host it there. We talked about doing a Facebook stitch along. Unfortunately, my Facebook account was hacked and I have never been able to get back into it. And I just got pretty frustrated with Facebook, so I just don't do it anymore because someone wanted my account and they didn't do anything except change my password, my phone number, and my email address, which makes it impossible for me to get back in. So, Zero. It's going to be on my website, which I kind of like anyway. I've got total control over it. So you can go to my site today at 4 Central Time, and you'll see a picture of the sampler in the corner. You can click on that to be taken to the charts and thread packs, and then the fabric pack will be in a separate place. Okay, so I'm so super excited about it. I think it's a lovely little sampler. The colors, the bright red and that kind of cobalty blue are so pretty. I know Nicola was putting together a video about it too, and so I will put a link below to that so that you can hear what she's got to say about the sampler. She does a great job. The chart is, you know, this spiral binding, the metal binding with the heavy pages, and the chart is full color. And there's commentary by her about Margaret, and there's commentary by me just about sampler collecting in general and why samplers are such a wonderful part of our art history. So look for that. Now I'm going to start with a drawing for last time. So I offered a $25 gift card, and you had to talk about a happy childhood memory. And the winner of that drawing, I don't know if it's one person or 2 people, 2 grateful stitchers won the drawing, and that person commented, "Glad to see you. My favorite childhood memory in the summer is floating in the Wolf River. I grew up in Wisconsin and have a similar water skiing story, but my skis crossed and one sliced my leg open. I still love the water though." That's kind of how it goes. If you didn't catch it last time, I talked a lot about like what the summers in the lake were like in Minnesota. So congratulations. 2 grateful stitchers. Just contact me at my email address below and I will set you up with that gift card. I want to do a drawing for next time as well. So this one, the drawing is for a chart of your choice on my website. And I'd like to hear a grandma memory. And the reason I mention that is my grandma, Carmen Bischoff, would have turned 100 on Friday. And sadly, she passed away in 1980 when I was 10 from cancer. But she and I were pretty close, and one of her things, I have her class ring and my grandpa's class ring, and then I also have, when they were kind of dividing up the household goods, my mom said, "Is there anything in particular that you want, either from grandma or grandpa?" And I said, "Yeah, I would love her dough." She had a big stainless steel mixing bowl that she made bread in, and her rolls, her buns were the best. Grandma had great buns. And she also used to make hot cross buns with the crisscross of like icing on the top, but her rolls were so good. I have a recipe. Can I duplicate it? No. But I have a lot of fond memories of Grandma with that dough bowl. I would pick little pieces of dough and eat them, and the adults would say, you better not eat all that dough or you're going to get a stomach ache. And I can completely remember in my mind standing there by the dough bowl going, when I'm an adult, I'm going to eat as much dough as I want. Have I done that? No, because I have adult sensibilities at this time, and it's just probably not going to lead to great things. But my grandma was a great lady. She was a go-getter. She had raised 6 children in a small 3-bedroom house, and she was a great cook. She liked to golf. She liked to play bridge. She liked a good joke. And I have fond memories of sitting with Grandma on the couch playing Kings in the Corner. And I miss her still. I still think about her, and sometimes I'm like, you know, she would think what I was doing is really cool, because she also embroidered and crocheted and she sewed. And so I feel like some of that stitchy blood got passed down from my grandma. So happy birthday, Grandma. And I'd like to hear everybody else's grandma stories too. All right. Then I thought I would sashay into my works in progress. It was a busy summer, and I didn't probably get quite as much stitching done as I would have liked. I did get some done, and you'll see some of it here. Right, Zero? Zero says, Mom, just hold me like a baby. So I'm going to have to set you on my lap. This is one that I've been working on recently. So I don't love to start projects. I have, you know, maybe 15 whips, and most of them are pretty big. I don't do very many small pieces these days, but this one I started a couple of years back, and it's been super fun to work on. And once I hit that point where like I'm rounding the corner and the end is in sight, I really want to get it done. And so this one is Mary Bars by Stacy Nash. And here it is. And so you can see the top right-hand corner is what I've got left, and then the verse in the top middle. But otherwise, I was super proud of my, everything matched up with my borders. So the borders, once I made my way around, I was right on the money with my counting. So I was pretty impressed with myself. It's lovely. It's lovely. I stitched mine on a 40 count alabaster by R&R Reproductions. It's sadly not a fabric I see that they do anymore ever. It's kind of like got that little bit of a pinky porcelain kind of vibe to it, which looks really nice with the golds, the greens, the blues, and the pinks. I think it's a really nice choice. If you were looking for something similar, I'm trying to think. I don't know. I can't really. Oh, Lamb's Wool by Jude Designs would be a pretty good substitute. Pretty. Also, I went to visit my sister for a week. I was gone Wednesday the 21st to Wednesday the 28th. I hadn't seen my sister for a couple of years. Her name's Laura, and I was able to spend time with her and her family, which was so nice, just relaxing. We shopped, we made food, we hung out with the kids. We stayed up really late laughing, just telling stories about our lives, and they were great hosts. It was nice to spend time with everybody. My sister stitches a little off and on. She's done kind of crafty things. Raising 4 boys, I know she doesn't get a ton of time to do stuff like that. So I brought 2 kits that I bought that were Maggie Bononomy kits, available through Blackberry Primitives online. And I think if you go to blackberryprimitives.com, you'll maybe still see them. I don't know if they still got them available, but it was the original series came out in 2017. Then they re-released it in 2021, rekitted it, and so you could subscribe and get it once every quarter. And so I brought the spring one because I already had the pieces cut out, and I worked on that. And then I showed her how to do this with the freezer paper and the wool and everything. And so she's working on the December, the winter one. So like I said, I already had the pieces cut out, and so this is where mine is at right now. And I think it's really, really cute, isn't it? So I still have quite a ways to go, but this was just one afternoon. The thing about applique is it's I think people think like, oh, I can't do that. You trace shapes and you cut out the shape and you iron it to the wool, and then you just cut around it. And then Maggie just has you just basically whip stitch them down. You don't even do a blanket stitch, which I prefer. I think it looks less busy that way. It's not hard. Really, it's not. And it's going to be super cute. So I can't wait to finish that up. Okay, so that was that, and that was that. I think that's all I'll talk about right this second about my whips. Now, I did have, since the last time I was with you, 0. Oh, I had 0. He says, I like to be held like a baby. I released 3 different designs since the last time I talked to you, and I was pretty proud of how they turned out. I've kind of been working on my style with charting, and I forgot to grab charts. I think I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. The first one I'm going to show you is CA Hair, and this came out earlier in September. And here's what the chart looks like. Kind of shiny, kind of shiny. So it's a full color graph, and that's available as a download and as an actual chart like I showed you. Here's the model. I think it's so pretty. I originally was going to include this in my sampler book, my marking sampler book that's coming out later this year. And when it came back from the frame shop, I was like, oh, that needs its own chart. Because I feel like it's really a cool sampler. I don't have documentation that shows it's a Quaker Sampler, but it has a lot of those Quaker Sampler elements, the alphabets, even just these little floral motifs in the bottom, and that border. I just love the border. It feels like she just was like, I'm going to stitch this color for a while, and then she would switch. Her border does not match up at the top. It was off, which that's how I chart it. However she stitched it, that's how it is. And I think it's just really a cool little sampler. There's not many specialty stitches. This is a 4-sided alphabet, which is so pretty. I love 4-sided stitch. There's a little bit of satin stitch here, and then there's a little bit of over one in the verse too. Now I charted this from the original, and I didn't stitch it on the same count as the original, which I'll show you right now. The original is on kind of a looser weave fabric, maybe like, it's in the chart, but I think it's more like a 32 count. I'm just going to use the back of this so the light doesn't shine through. There it is. And I think it's just really a neat sampler. So the stitched on 40 count, it's obviously going to be smaller than this. I just like things small. So you could stitch it on 32 count if you wanted it to be the same, more the same size. Very, very pretty. So that one came out, like I said, a few weeks back. Then, as long as I've got this up, this one came out, gosh, this one's maybe been out for 8 or 10 weeks or so. Marianne Mingay. Here's the model. Oh, I want to mention too, the last model was stitched by Chris Canaday. She did a beautiful job as always. Marianne Mingay was stitched by my good friend Kathy Krause, and she did a great job on this one. This is one I bought quite a while ago. It's from 1796, believe it or not. So it's one of the oldest in my collections. What sealed the deal for me was this little birdhouse, or little bird cage. I think it's so cute. And the colors are just pastel and really pretty. There's just pink and blue and gold. And the border is neat. Now this is, you know, early-ish for a border like this, and it's got more of like a kind of an angular star-shaped flower. They get a little bit more organic as time goes on, but she did a wonderful job. I've got the original here too to show you. I haven't really decided, so the original has got some problems. But the stitching stayed true. So I'm going to be careful. You can see there are holes in it. And, but it's otherwise very, very pretty. I don't know that this one could stand to be, you know, framed and still stay okay. So it may just get put into tissue and into storage. How pretty is that though? And this one does have a number of specialty stitches. There's Algerian eye for the big alphabet. There's a little bit of satin, well, there's quite a bit of satin stitching around the border. And then with this one, it was a real head scratcher as I was working on it because I couldn't figure out the alphabets. I was like, what is the deal with these alphabets? And sometimes what I do is I grab my smartphone and I take a picture of a section and then I blow it up until I can see what's going on there. Because sometimes even with my +4 readers, I really have a tough time. It's a very fine count. And I figured out what she did for the alphabet. So there's an alphabet above it, and then there's also, here, I'll just refer to this. So this alphabet here, and then her verse here. It just seemed like it was too much stitching for the space. And so once I blew it up, I figured out that she used a combination of over 2 cross stitches, over 1 cross stitches. Then she had some tall and skinny cross stitches, like 1 thread this way and 2 threads this way. And then the opposite of that, 2 threads this way and 1 thread tall. And then that way it allowed her to condense the letters so that it would all fit. And it was really pretty clever. The chart is charted with each of those stitches in place so you can see. So it's not going to take a ton of sleuthing to figure out how to stitch it. It's all charted that way. But I just thought it was a really clever way to make use of the space that she had for the verse she had. I almost wonder if there was another verse in there and that she really wanted this one. Or maybe this was the teacher's way of teaching, you know, how to do a verse with 4 different stitches. I have not charted one similar to it. I don't think it's anything maybe that's super rare, but I did think it was pretty unusual. So that's that one. And then the one that just released like 2 weeks ago is Mary Williams. And I think it's really, really, really pretty. This again was a purchase a while back. And what drew me to it was this tree. What is the deal with that tree? It's so strange. And then when I showed this to people, everybody's like, oh, a pink house. Look at the pink house. So I charted this one, and this was one of the easiest samplers I've ever reproduced. Even though it's a very fine count, and even though there's quite a few stitches, she was right on the money. She did a great job with her stitching, and the threads are all there, and the colors are pretty true. And I kind of want to show you the back, which is neat because it's got this like cotton twill tape, and then it's signed G. Jones, maker, Ross, and then I don't know what that says down there. And so I'm assuming that that's who framed it. And so it's got this kind of piece of chipboardy kind of paper in the back. It doesn't really give a date, so I can't say that that's, I doubt that that's the original, because this is from 1818. I doubt this is the original, you know, whatever that is. It's kind of like chipboard, sort of. But if you look at the original, you can see they used to just nail things to boards. These are boards. These are nails. So you'll see like they'll do like 1, 1, and then a grouping of 3, and then 1 and a grouping of 3, and then 1 and a grouping of 3. And so I can't imagine how fiddly that was to get it. Just, I mean, having stretched a fair bit of needlework in my lifetime, it seems like a real challenging way to frame it, especially when you consider, once again, that the samplers are stitched right up to the edge. You know, you really don't want to make a mistake is what I'm saying. Now, the one problem I saw with this sampler was the verse. The verse is a real familiar one. It's, favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hand, and let her works praise her. That is it's a pretty common sampler verse. You can't read it on the original. It has faded, faded, faded. So what I did with the model, oops, I'm going to put this here so it doesn't get kicked or anything. What I did with the model is I substituted a different color for the verse, which makes it much easier to see. My friend Kathy Krause stitched this in 18 days, which has to be some kind of a record. It's really a pretty sampler, and one of the best things about it as someone who has to sell charts is there's almost nothing beyond cross stitch over 2. It could also probably pretty much be stitched on Aida even if you wanted to. The birds in this row, their legs are stitched over 1, but you could easily just do like a back stitch for their legs, and then over the windows there is a little bit of satin stitching But again, that could just be cross-stitched. Otherwise, verse is over 2. The name in the cartouche is over 2. There aren't any alphabets. And I know some people really get sick of stitching alphabets all the time. So this one is really very pick-upable and not put-downable because it's just so pretty. I think she did a great job. And like I said, it's an unusual sampler, the pink house and that tree. I like the animals running around, dogs chasing rabbits. It's just a real charmer, don't you think? So now the chart for that one, I kept out of the package here so you could see it better. It comes like this, and I just want to show you a few elements of it. Here's the back. Here's the back, the key. And then in my charts, when I reproduce samplers, I always put some commentary. This one, here's one of the pages, and that talks about like the original. And then I think, is it in here? Maybe it was before I inserted it. It might have been. But there's a whole page that just talks about the sampler itself. And so there's a lot to look at in here. I think they're just fun charts even just to look at. So again, available as a download, available on my site. Shops can pick it up from me, or they can just get them at Hoffman and Yarn Tree. And both of those companies also carry those charts. So yay, releases. I have lots in the works too, so hang in there. Okay, let's talk about what I'm all into. Humble Crumble. When I was in Seattle, my sister and I took a Sunday afternoon to go up to Snohomish, which is just a really cute little community by Seattle. And unusually, I guess, we got there and there was a huge car show. So there were cars all the way from like Model Ts up to Teslas. People were getting trophies. There was just a ton of people on the streets. Now, the downtown area of Snohomish is really cute. They have all kinds of like, you know, boutique-y shops with clothes and knickknacks and candles and things. There's florists. I think there was a bookstore. There was a bakery. And then there are all these really great little restaurants. And probably 2 blocks in, we were like, what is that? And there was 2 pie shops next to each other. So there was like a pie, it was like the pie place or something. And then there was a pie dive. And we were like, ooh, what's the pie dive? So pie dive is like a dive bar. So there's a bar with cocktails or beer or whatever. And then there's pie, which is kind of a strange combination. But already, I guess they opened last year in 2021. Already they have like a Food Network award for this Humble Crumble. So we had for lunch shepherd's pie and Thanksgiving pie. The Thanksgiving pie was a pie with turkey, gravy, mashed potato stuffing, and a scoop of cranberry sauce on the side. And then they were served with like a little salad with pickled beets on it, which was really good. And then we shared a piece of Humble Crumble for dessert. And it was a really thick crumble on the top, like a crunchy crumble. And then the fruit in the pie was Granny Smith apples, Marion berries, raspberries, and strawberries. And it was just not even close the best restaurant pie I've ever had. I think a lot of times pies, I kind of like pies, and I make pies. I like to make pies. A lot of times the crust is flavorless, or it's too brown, or it's dry, or it crumbles apart. They have just perfected pie. And I'm assuming cocktails. We did not have a cocktail. But anyway, if you get up to Snohomish, I would highly recommend the pie dive, and especially their Humble Crumble. We did buy an entire pie of that and take it home. I'm super into fun pumpkins this year. It seems like everywhere I go, I don't know if it was just a good year for pumpkins or what the deal is, but everywhere I go, it's like all of these pumpkins that are like green and white and like all kind of warts and things, and streaky and big and small and like buttery kind of orangey yellow. I don't know what it is. I'm enamored with all these different kinds of pumpkins there are all of a sudden. I saw a ton of them in Seattle at the grocery stores that we went to, and I'm even seeing them here in Hattiesburg. And I'm kind of like, oh, I would love to get a fun pumpkin or two. It always, I don't know. I love to look at them, but if I put them on my front step, I don't use the front. I just come in through the garage, so I wouldn't get to enjoy it. So who knows? But anyway, I just love seeing all the fun pumpkins. I'm super into Teresa Kogut's Patreon, And I will put a link to that below. She's got a Patreon that you can join at different levels. And she's doing just a great job. She's got videos, unboxings, commentary. She kind of shares like what she's got going. And then she also, you get a number of free charts and art pages every month for being a member. You have access to discounts and like a special Patreon shopping page with like products you might not see in her Etsy store. I would really highly recommend it if you like that kind of a thing. It's fun to see what she comes up with every month for the charts. There's a stitch along going on right now. She's putting a lot of effort into it, and it's really wonderful to see everybody interacting and enjoying her art. She's just a great designer. Oh, I am super into, well, I like Legos. I just do. As a girl, I loved Legos, but my brother would get Legos. Do I have something on me? My brother would get Legos for like Christmas and his birthday. I would get like girl things because Legos aren't for girls, right? But I always liked playing with his Legos. So they've started making Lego sets with adults in mind. And this popped up, I don't know, earlier this year. Like I had missed it. So then I ordered one. And I don't know if y'all remember, like I'm really into Vincent van Gogh. And look at what they came up with. The Starry Night Lego set. How cool is that? It comes with a tiny little Vincent van Gogh and his easel and his palette. And then it's a very 3D Lego puzzle. I mean, we'll call it a puzzle. They essentially are puzzles. And then you can actually hang this on your wall when you're done. So I can't wait to get that, open it and start it. I think it's just the neatest thing. So I'm super into that. Oh, I always have to come up with things. All right, so I'm super into going to the dentist, and here's my story. Life is busy. And there have been times over the last number of years where I was like, I really should make a dentist appointment. I don't mind going to the dentist. I had braces twice as a kid. I had a number of dental surgeries. I'm missing 2 complete sets of teeth. But I'm not afraid of the dentist. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I'm fine with it. Totally fine. I probably had not been to the dentist for 10 to 12 years, I think, which is a shocking amount of time. And there's no good excuse for not doing it. I have dental insurance. And like I said, I don't mind it. I just didn't prioritize it, and I didn't take the time to do it. So I was like, okay, Trish, you got to go to the dentist. So I went to the dentist, and I was like, I'm going to have a ton of cavities. I just am. I love, candy, and I, drink a lot of cola. But I take care of my teeth. How many cavities do you think I had? Not a one. And I was like, what? But so they polished my teeth. They're doing some work with my gums because I had a few spots in my gums that just need a little extra assistance. But I was there and I was like, Therese, why did you not make a dental appointment? Like I was fully prepared for 6 or 7 cavities. And I'm glad I didn't have them. And I promise to do better. So if you haven't made a dental appointment in a while, they really just have a lot of great things they can do for your teeth these days. And you just really should go. It's not that bad. My mouth is super small, so it's never fun to kind of keep it open while they try to finagle things in and out of there. But I'm going to be all into going to the dentist again. And I mentioned this already before, but I'm really into cooler weather. The fall is the best season of the year. It makes me feel extremely stitchy and crafty. It feels cozy to be inside. You can have some coffee, and just enjoy like cooler temperatures, changing colors outside. It's definitely drying up here, so things are starting to go dormant. And it just means that winter's coming. That's what I'm all into this week. Page 2. Okay, a list of 10. I want to do a show and tell of just some of my needlework that I went and looked around like my house, and I was like, let's pick out 10 pieces of needlework just to do kind of a show and tell. And they're just things that are my jam right now. Sometimes I'm like, I see a piece that I've done and I'm like, oh, that's kind of dated. But sometimes I really take a good look and I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. These are in no particular order, 0. I love you so much. Okay, So this one is called Rose Hips and Ivy. And some of these I will have put on my video before. This one is Rose Hips and Ivy by Blackbird Designs. It was in their Sewing Club book that came out a couple of markets ago. And it was finished as a drum. And one day I just decided to page through the book. And I was like, oh, this is so pretty, but I feel like a drum, you know, you only get to see, you know, like this much at a time. So I decided to stitch it and finish it as a pincushion pillow. I stuffed it with sawdust, and I added these little buttons on each basket at the bottom. And then I did this end with all the buttons here. Here's what the back looks like. And that's that one. I think the colors are really pretty. So I enjoy that one. I enjoy it. All right, let's do, I guess I'll do the pillows first because they're on top. This one is Goat Load by Plum Street Samplers. I'm crossing them off just to make sure I get all 10. And I stitched this one a couple of years ago too. I guess I didn't date it. I did mine on 40 count. And I think it's really cute. Paulette's got a number of these animal stackers. And I don't know what drew me to this one right away, but it really was fun to stitch. And it stitched up pretty quickly. But how cute is that? I should do more of them. Okay. Oh, this one I like. I like all of these. This one is called, okay, yeah, that's right. This one's called Sophia by Summerhouse Stitchworks. It's still available. I don't have it in my shop anymore, but I'm sure you can find it online. This was, this chart was gifted to me by Jen. She had this chart, and then she was like, I don't know if I'll ever stitch this one. Do you want it? And I was like, yeah, totally. The colors are kind of strange, but I like it. And there were only a few colors of DMC in this one. It stitched up pretty quickly. And I think it's really, really cute. I purposefully sewed the backing fabric on sideways because I thought it was quirky. But that I think is really, really pretty. I don't know. For me, I was partially just the color combo on that one. But I do really like the shapes like teal blue acorns. Why not? Right? Okay. Is this the last of the pincushions? It might be. So this one is called Sing a Song of Seasons by Blackbird Designs. This one is still available. And again, it's a little pincushion that I finished with sawdust, some lady dot trim, and I stitched mine on a 40 count scrap. I keep scraps in a bag. You can kind of see a little touch of the bag right there. That's where I keep my scraps. So when I'm stitching something small like this, I just go straight to that bag so I don't have to cut into a big piece of fabric. And I think this one's really cute too. The colors are pretty, and again, it was a pretty quick and easy stitch. So it looks like I did that one in 2019. I don't always date my pieces. I used to be pretty religious about making sure I put my date and at least my initials on my stitching, and I got out of it, and I come back to it from time to time. I don't know. I always used to do it, and it is kind of fun to see that date. But sometimes I'm like, I just like the design to be the way it is. Am I going to save this one? I'll do this one now. This one is Elizabeth Beard, and this one has not come out yet. I stitched this model, and this is going to be for my upcoming marking sampler book. So I thought, what the heck? I'll show you one early since you're here. And this is Elizabeth Beard. And I'm not going to show you the original today. Pictures of the original will be in the book, and I'll also highlight that when the book comes out on a video. But this was really fun to stitch. I kind of love the combination of blue and black on a sampler, and it's got this kind of teal midnighty blue. And then the sampler, or this little flower, is stitched in satin stitch. And I came up with, I thought, a pretty clever way to duplicate it. I know a lot of people wouldn't want to, like with a pencil or pen, try to figure out how to lay it out. So what I did is it's charted with a just like a back stitch. So what I did is I just back stitched the shape of the flower, and it's all on the chart. So you just follow the chart and back stitch it like that. And then I just satin stitched within each area. And I think it turned out really cool that way. I do have it also it'll be in the book, a cross stitch version in case you just feel like you can't swing it. But that was part of the thing I really loved about this sampler. And it was pretty fun to stitch. It's on 36 count Ale by Picture This Plus. So that's upcoming. Not available now. Sorry. Sorry. Oh, okay, this one, cool. This is called October 31st, or October 31, I guess, by Brenda G. from With Thy Needle and Thread. And I got this cool barnwood frame at Neblets, and every time I order a barnwood frame from them, they're like, okay, this one can come in kind of crazy, like it might be darker or lighter, or it might have, you know, like knots and things. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I like. That's my jam, wabi sabi. And so this one I think I stitched on a 36 count. I would say it looks like Wren, maybe, by Picture This Plus. And I just love this little pumpkin face. Look at how cute he is. And so here's a little tip from me too. And I did this summer. I gathered up some of the charts that I have finished, you know, and they're hanging on the walls. And I just put them in plastic bags, or kept them in the plastic bag they came in, and just taped them to the back of the piece. Because wouldn't it be cool to have that kind of, you know, if you had a historic piece of needlework from 100 years ago, wouldn't it be cool to find the pattern on the back? So I did that this summer a bunch of times, and so I'm glad that I got that all organized. But anyway, this one was super fun to stitch. Brenda's witches are always so cute. She's got little curly shoes, and very dainty. Look at her tiny waist. Okay, so there's that one. There's that one. And, oh, okay, so this is a fun one. This is going from back in the day. I don't think, oh, I did. Okay, so I'm going to be able to prove something to you. This one is called Life is a Chair of Bowlies. It's a Mary Englebright design, and I'm sure the chart came out like in the early 90s or so. Life is just a chair of bowlies. I remember stitching this at my grandparents' house. Now, my grandma would have since passed. She passed away in 1980, but my grandpa was still alive, and I remember being at his house and stitching on this one. It probably was the last thing I ever stitched on Ada. And it's got a little cat there and a little girl with cherries, but her chair is full of bowls. And there's a lot of back stitching. It came in a book, and I think it also came out as a standalone, like a kit maybe, or a chart. If you go into like eBay or Etsy, or even just Google Life is a Chair of Bowlies cross stitch Mary Englebright, charts pop up, and so you could still get this one. I still think it's cute, even though it's from 95. You can see I did, here's proof, there's my initials, TV 95. Anyway, so I think that one's real cute. It's in a metal frame. And like I said, it was probably one of my last Ada pieces. But it looks like it's maybe like an 18 count Ada. It's pretty small. It could be 20 count. It looks tiny. But I still like this one. I enjoy it. So that's that one. Oh, this is another blast from the past. And this one actually, I was looking at it, and it's kind of getting like snaggy. It's kind of got snags on it. I don't have glass on it. And this has been like moved a bunch of times. This one is called Noah's, I think it's just called Noah's Ark. And it was in, do you remember the magazine Cross Stitch and Country Crafts? I used to subscribe to it. I was so sad when they stopped making it. So it's from the 87 issue, January, February 1987, and it's on the cover. And then I think they also made this chart available just as a separate chart that you could buy. Once again, I just looked on eBay, and you could get this chart for like $3 or $4. And the magazine, try eBay, try Etsy, and you know, if you just like I said, Google Sandy Orton Noah's Ark, and this should pop up too. And so this one I did, you can see in 1992. So this one is 92, 02, 12, 22, 30 years old. And this I would have stitched when Harrison was just a wee one. And I remember framing it, and he and I would step up to it and like talk about the animals that were on it. It was really fun to stitch. It's on 18 count khaki Davos, which is, you know, famous for being the fabric that the Prairie Schooler Santas are stitched on. It was really fun to stitch, just regular DMC. And it probably was one of the last pieces I stitched on this 18 count Davos, which I bought a yard of because I didn't know you could buy less than a yard. When they said, like, I got it at Northwest Fabrics, and it would say, like, I think it was $9 or $7. It was a crazy low amount. I think they had it mismarked and there was a sale. But it said, whatever, $7 per yard. And I was like, oh, okay, so you buy a yard. So I bought a yard of 18 count khaki Davos and stitched on that yard for years. And so it's over one on the 18 count. there's a little bit of kind of a backstitch alphabet here too. I still really like this one. The frame is an Eastside Moldings frame in kind of a teal blue. And it's just cute, isn't it? I mean, it looks a little dated, but not too dated. Okay, let's do this one. This is, I know I've shown this one before. This is the Reverend Gordon Squash Bottom by Not Forgotten Farm. And he's just cute, isn't he? Pumpkinhead man with his elongated cat. And I just, you know, I always like things that are kind of lopsided and misshapen. And I love just the kind of random triangles around the edge. And oh, look, I put a T there. I must have initialed that, but I think it's really, really cute. It was fun to do. Her stuff is really sweet, all done up. And, okay, so let's see. Is this the last one? I think it is. Okay, so then the last one is Spooky Countdown by the Primitive Hare. I always go back to this one. It was fun to work on. I was working on this one right around the time that I reopened my shop. I think I used to take it to work at Barnes & Noble, and I would work on it during my lunch break because I could get one of these done in a half an hour pretty much. It's still available. I've got it in my shop, Spooky Countdown, Primitive Hare. And like I said, they're just very doable little rectangles. And it was just really fun to stitch. The frame I got at Neblets, I don't think this one is even available anymore. But doesn't it look like kind of burned wood? It's black. And it's got kind of this, just kind of like a little bit of a metallic edge on the inside. See that? It's such a great frame for this. And again, I've got it framed really tight. But that one is just super fun. So that is my list of 10, just show and tell. Just showing you what's on my walls. Okay, great. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about kind of plans that I've got till the end of the year. It seems like I've spent the year kind of packing orders until late at night, but I've had all these things kind of buzzing in the background. I've been working with designers and friends in the industry to come up with some kind of cool things that are finally coming to fruition here at the end of the year, like the sampler project I've been doing with Nicola. As I've mentioned a couple of times already, I've got a marking sampler book that will be coming out hopefully in the next couple of months. And that'll be printed just like my Red Letter Day book, where it's full color printed book, you know, with multiple. I think I've got either 6 or 7 patterns that'll be in that one, and lots of, you know, articles, commentary, that kind of thing, pretty pictures. So that's going. I also have, this is one that I'm actually charting now. Just want to take care of these here and make sure I'm careful. So this is one I'm charting now, and my friend Kathy is ready to stitch it as soon as I get it done. It is called Phoebe Ann Quinby, and it was stitched in, does she say? I don't think so. Oh yeah, 1835 in Readington, New Jersey. And how cool are these, whatever they are, on the in the border? It's such an unusual border. And it really was kind of a wow when I saw it, because I was like, that is so interesting. And then the church here is so pretty, and it's done in queen stitches and rice stitches, and I love a good rice stitch. And there are some specialty stitches here and there, you can see. Now my plan is, I'm charting this with the specialty stitches, but we'll also have available just cross-stitch versions of those for people who feel like they don't, you know, want to maybe do the specialty stitches. But I think it's such a pretty old sampler. And so just like I said, the Mary Williams sampler that I showed you earlier was a breeze, and it was fine, and there was a lot of stitching. This one is hard to get together. Some of the colors have kind of, you know, faded enough so that they kind of are, some colors that might be 2 different colors kind of are looking like the same color. And she's just got some mistakes, which makes it a challenge. But that one shouldn't be long until it's charted, and then I'll pass it off to Kathy, and she's lightning fingers, and so that one will be available hopefully by the end of the year as well. And then this one, I never thought I would own an actual Quaker sampler. I have a few samplers that are Quaker-ish, But it's like, well, they probably are, but they might not be. This for sure is a Quaker Sampler, and it is M. Satterthwaite. Satterthwaite. And I found this online just maybe like 6 weeks ago or so. So pretty. They come, 2 Quaker Samplers like this one came up for bid on eBay. One of them was the Hannah Gilpin sampler, which actually was reproduced by Jacqueline Holdsworth from Needleprint, and that one is still available. I think I'm out right now, but I'll be getting more soon. So that one sold, and my friend Kathy and I talked about them, and I was like, let's just make a bid just to say we did, because I thought they were going to go for just a ton of money. So we bid, and we got outbid. And then Sunday, I was like, oh yeah, the Quaker Samplers are probably done or just about done. I want to just see how they ended up, and they went for much less than I thought they would. So this one I came across when it had 2 minutes left. I made a couple of bids and got outbid, and I was like, okay, I'm going to bid one more time and then I'm out. And I bid one more time with 47 seconds left, and it was mine. And so it came all the way from jolly old England, and this is on the short list for reproduction. So, and this will be a breeze, I think, to reproduce. It is just all in black. It looks like she used a couple of different weights of black thread, or that she had just kind of mismatched, because it almost looks like some of it's gray, but it's really just showing the fabric through a little bit more. Such a pretty piece. And I think, you know, part of what makes Quaker Samplers really beautiful is just the angular, you know, you've got like octagons, and the letters are, you know, kind of angular and man-made looking. And then you've got all of these organic elements like flowers and birds, and like just even like these. Aren't they so pretty? And just the one color, when you do something in one color, the design can really speak. And you really can, I don't know, just kind of focus in on the beauty of the design. This is just so, so sweet. So I'm really excited about that. You can see about how big it is. I probably, does it look like it looks like it's uneven. So the stitches look a little wider than they are tall, maybe. But anyway, I can't wait to get that one ready for you guys. I know you'll love it. I've also got, just about ready, 2 blind boxes. And I'm not going to say much about them now, and please don't pester me about getting on a waiting list. There's no waiting list. But if you don't already, please make sure you subscribe to my newsletter at kittenstitcher.com. In the lower right corner, you'll find information that'll say like sign up for newsletter, and you just type your email address in. Make sure you get it right or it won't get to you. And then you'll get my newsletter. So anytime I've got a big announcement, I send a newsletter out. I don't send them, you know, I get some from some companies like every day, and I'm like, gee guys, this is too many. Once or twice a month, maybe 3 times a month, but it's basically just for big announcements. So I've got 2 blind boxes. I'm not doing an advent calendar box this year. I've had a lot of questions about it since last December. Last December, I did an advent calendar box that came with 25 different cross-stitch items that were all exclusives to me. Each one of them was individually wrapped with a tag on it. So I had 15,000 items that I had to individually bag and put into these kits. I'm not doing that this year. It was fun. I also spent 1 week of my life stapling. So I'm doing 2 blind boxes. There'll be fewer pieces, but there's one with Halloween items, and there's going to be one with reproduction sampler items. The Halloween will be announced shortly. So I would guess maybe within a week's time I will announce it and it will go up for sale. I think everything is here. So I just wanted to get kind of get caught up on orders after my vacation to Seattle. So there's a Halloween box, a reproduction sampler box. I also have a few more designer exclusives in the works, one with the Primitive Hair and one with Teresa Kogut. And so again, those will be exclusive kits just to me. I did, since the last video, release this one from the Primitive Hair, Home is Where My Stitching Is. It comes with the threads and the hand-dyed fabric. I have a smattering of these left, and so if you want to pick one up, just go to my website and you can look in the Primitive Hair section, or just type in Home is Where My Stitching Is in the search bar, and that'll pop up. And so those they don't come just as a chart. It comes with the threads and the fabric, and the fabric is a 30 count, but I think it's really, really a pretty piece, and people went bonkers over that. What else do I have going on? I mean, I think Okay, that's all I want to talk about for now. Okay, so last but not least, I always feature 3 new things in my shop. One of them, I was so excited when it got here, and I think it came just before I left town, was, and I'll pop some pictures up here, Teresa Kogut's new line of fabric from Riley Blake called StitchyBirds, which is just perfect. I mean, these fabrics are just screaming to be made into project bags, and the colors are really pretty. I love the kind of fractor style of it. I know I've mentioned it before, but as someone who's operated a cross-stitch business since the late 90s, I think we get really spoiled that things just are available all the time. So like you can find like a Prairie Schooler chart from the 80s, I can still order from Hoffman. So what, 80s, 90s, OEs, 10s. So, I mean, some of them maybe are 35 years old and we can still get the charts. The fabrics, it's like, how old is, summer khaki fabric? How old is antique white Belfast? We've had that for years, decades. And in the quilting industry, it's very in and out. And so a line of fabrics will be announced at a point, and then they tell the quilting shops or whoever's ordering it, these are going to come out. Usually it's like about 6 months or 5 months from now. You have to place it as a pre-order, and then the company that manufactures the fabric says, okay, this is what we have in pre-orders. Let's add this much, and then that's how much we're going to print. That way, they're not stuck with too little fabric for demand, and they're not stuck with a lot of leftovers if something isn't going to sell quite as well as they thought. So what that means is if you like a quilting fabric, they will blip out at some point, right? So with the Blackbird Designs quilt fabrics that came out this summer, they came in, they started selling like crazy. Some of the colors were out pretty much as soon as they released them because of they had to fill all the pre-orders first. And then they're like rapid fire, there were a bunch of them. It was just, they just blinked out of existence where it's like, nope, we're out. And that happens with these two. I've carried parts of Teresa's 3 other lines that have come out so far. Is it 3 other lines? 1, 2, 3. This is the 3rd one. StitchyBirds is the 3rd one, I think. And so some of those, I had a big run on her Halloween fabrics this week. Once they're gone, they're gone. And I try to order in quantities that I think people would need, but you just never know. Sometimes a fabric takes off because someone features it, and then all of a sudden it's gone. So I've got the StitchyBirds fabrics in now, most of them. There were a few that were still on the way, and I will receive mine as soon as they're available. Another thing that I'm carrying in my shop now is the Wishing Thorn charts. I found her on Etsy and asked if I could order some of her charts wholesale, and lucky me, she said of course. And so I'll flash a few up here. I really like the samplers that she chooses. I can see that she selects things that look fun to stitch or that have something interesting about them. Another plus is that she's very, very, very nice. And so I carry a goodly chunk of what she's got available at this point, and we'll add new ones as they come. Her charts are often in DMC floss, which makes them inexpensive projects, but it also means that if you want to substitute out, it would be pretty easy to find some kind of like an overdyed thread or silk conversion from DMC, and you could just stitch it that way too. I think I downloaded one of her charts. I'll put it here. I think it was Anne McFarlane maybe. And when I found her, I downloaded that. I was like, wow, that's cool. And I kind of stumbled back across her again. And I was like, I should really just ask if I can get those. And lucky me, I could. Okay. And then another thing that's new in my shop, these just came in while I was gone in Seattle. And a huge thank you to my husband for bringing in my boxes while I was gone. I tried not to order much before I left, but sometimes you order things in advance and you don't know when they're going to show up. And unfortunately, he had some pretty big boxes that he had to bring it in. So the Primitive Hair, I just showed you that kit. She had some new charts and things from Expo, and I received my Expo thread palettes, which I just love her thread palettes. I do use them. I know you can just use them in displays or just have them because they're pretty, but she does these little boards. It's just a little piece of, really, it feels like a pretty soft, smooth wood. And they print pictures on them. So this is the mushroom. It must be like a stamp or something, right? and it's got holes. And so you can just loop your threads through here and tie them on and just use it to carry threads for a project. So there's that one. There's this little fox that I think is really cute. Oh, he's got a stamp too. Then there was this cute little Santa one with the sheet music and holly and bells. And I don't know. I think this one's my favorite, is a witch riding a bicycle because it's so cute. What does it say on it? Winifred Ravenwalther, something like that. 89 it says. I'm assuming 1889 maybe. Really, really cute. So those are new and in the shop too. And I have a lot of them. Okay, it's good to be back. And things here are good. I'm happy and enjoying getting things out to everybody. It seems like people are still stitching to beat the band. And again, I know I've said it before, it's so nice to see the amount of enthusiasm that there is these days for cross stitch. I hang out sometimes on the cross stitch subreddit just to see what people are talking about. And not only are people our age, my age, stitching, but also it seems like there's a lot of interest in younger people, even kids, just kind of getting into cross stitch. And there just is so much genuine, like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. And it's really neat to see, because I've loved to cross stitch since 1980-ish or so. And it kind of comes and goes as everything. Some of us just keep on stitching, but it's always fun to see new people too. And Ruby. And so until next time, I will see you later. And I'm hoping it won't be quite as long until the next video. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.